What's up? Hello and welcome back to the Zone Focus channel. My name is Chris. Thank you again for stopping by. And guess what? It is 2021 right here on the Zone Focus channel. Welcome to the new year. So last year, towards the end of the year, I reached out to you guys on Instagram and I was asking about 35mm lenses for the M-mount system. Personally, I have never shot a 35mm lens on any of my film cameras. I've been strictly shooting 50mm, but I wanted to move into 35mm because there were a lot of instances that I faced last year and in 2019 where I wish I could have been a little bit wider, shooting indoors and documenting people, more than one person. Sometimes you just need a little bit more space to get more than one person in a shot, and keep them in focus. With the 50mm lens, you can get more than one person in a shot, but it's more difficult to get all of them in focus because if you layer people and they go backwards in the frame, then the depth of field on a 50mm lens is shallower than a wider lens would be. So that was pushing me to get a 35mm lens. The lenses that I was looking at the time that I asked people were the Nocton 35mm f1.4 from Voigtlander, the Zeiss Biogon 2.8C, and the Zeiss Biogon 2.0. Also Leica Summicron with the goggles, which is I tried one out in a store and I didn't really like it that much because of the goggle system was a little weird. I liked how it looked, but I wasn't really looking for a classical rendering with the 35mm lens. I wanted something that was a little more modern, a little sharper, and that type of look. That brings us to the lens that I actually got, which was this lens right here. This is the Voigtlander Ultron f2. So the Voigtlander Ultron f2 is a lens that I ended up sticking on, and it might be a weird choice. It was a lens that I personally didn't even know about until someone pointed it out to me as I was asking around for you know, options for the lens, 35mm lens. And this lens right here hit the happy medium for me, because not only is it an f2 lens, not only is it a tiny little lens, very small lens, but this is also an aspherical lens. Oh, and the biggest thing is that this is cheaper than the Zeiss Biogon 2.8. This is less than $1,000 easily. You can get these used for between maybe like $500, maybe $600. I got mine brand new for like $670, $680 or something like that. So these lenses are out there, especially if you can find it used. You can't beat this as far as the bang for buck. And Voigtlander constantly, in my opinion, constantly makes lenses that are great quality, produce beautiful images, and are well built and also great priced. I can't say enough about this lens. I mean, I've only had it for going on maybe a month now, and I haven't shot a whole lot with it. I've only shot a few rolls of black and white and one roll of color film at this point in time. For how much it costs, what you get out of it is really nice. The chrome rings, which a lot of people I feel like might get turned off by, the vintage styling of the lens. It looks way better in person than it does on the internet. From my experience, from what I saw on the internet, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know about how that looks. But in person, the quality of it is really nice. The focus is smooth. The aperture is from f2 to f16 in half-click increments. Let's see, then you have, of course, your focus scale right here, your zone focus scale, which I think is one of the negatives about the lens, is because it's so small, it's kind of difficult to see the scale. The scale is etched into the ring right here. So there's no lines that kind of show you just kind of have to see it. So that's one thing, and that's just because the lens is fairly small. Another thing is that this lens focuses down to 0.58 meters. The focus on rangefinder camera only goes down to, I think, a little less than 0.7. So if you rack focus all the way to the point where the hard stop is, you're not going to be able to see where you're focusing. So just keep that in mind. Now, one thing I don't like about the lens, one thing I really don't like about the lens is this, the aperture tab. So the aperture tab is on opposite ends. So there's a tab right here and there's a tab right here. There's nothing in between on this side or that side. There's nothing in between here, smooth. But there's a grippy side right here and there's a grippy side right here. So you can turn the aperture like this, but you can't grab it anywhere and turn the aperture. So that has slowed me down a few times. I've had to figure out a different way to move the aperture ring because I can't just grab it and turn it. So sometimes I have to use my thumb to open it up and then use my forefinger to close it when I have it mounted on my camera. I've kind of figured out a different way of going about it because you can't just grab it and turn it because you might miss the spots to grab the ring. The last polarizing thing about this lens that a lot of people are indifferent about is this, not even a tab, focus stick, right? This thing right here. So compared to the Zeiss lens that I use, this focus stick is better in my opinion. It's not as good as the focus tab, but I would put it in second place behind the tab and above the nub on a Zeiss rangefinder lens. Reason being is that when say you're out and about and you're trying to be quick and focus, right? It's easier to figure out where this is. Like you can just kind of drop your finger against the camera and you can hit it, right? So when you find it, then you know what you need to grab onto to focus. But the thing is that with the Zeiss lens, since the nub is fairly small, it's kind of difficult to figure out where it is so you can focus your lens. So that's one thing that I do like about this lens that I've noticed so far, is that it's way easier to figure out where this nub is to actually focus the lens quicker. And then all of the other same zone focusing things, zone focusing things come into mind. So, you just remember your positions. All right, this is 1 meter, boom. And you look at that and you're at 1 meter. All right, and then like, okay, this is like 2 meters, right? Boom, you're at 2 meters. So you can remember where this is supposed to be in, in comparison to what you're shooting. And it makes it way easier to focus your camera fast on the go. Yeah, so that's, the build quality and functionality kind of wrapped into one. And the last thing is the image quality. So I like the way that the images are coming out. They're really, really sharp. I feel like the quality of this lens is on par with the Zeiss Biogon that I used previously as well. And it's smaller than the Zeiss Biogon 2.8 and you get a whole extra stop of light. I'm not able to make a full review on this lens just because I haven't used it that much yet. But when I do use it some more, I will come back to it and make a little more in-depth review of it. But until then, you know what to do if you enjoyed the video. If you got anything out of it, make sure you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, go follow the Instagram page. Of course, as always, you'll be able to catch some more images that I make with this lens. And yeah, stay zone focused. I'm gonna holler at you later.